For the third melisma, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 plus 6 is 12, and then she repeats it exactly. 12 plus 12 is 24. That's still a multiple of 12. And then the last melisma. Remember, this motif was the scale, the 3-note scale. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these 3-note scales. 8 times 3 is 24, which is a multiple of 12. Oops. Although it runs against the usual ways sopranos sing this aria tonight, we will emphasize the motivic ideas to bring out the number 12. So you will hear lifts or re-emphases between each of these blocks here. As you can see now, this is also why the second motif will be expressed to emphasize the dotted rhythm rather than the descending scale. Only through this interpretation can we reveal the number 12. In movement 7, the Domine Fili chorale, Vivaldi symbolizes 12 more discreetly through voice pairings. Each high-low voice pair, high meaning soprano or alto and low meaning tenor or bass, sings the full text sings the full text 12 times. They sing it 12 times. The full text in this movement is Domine Fili Unigenite Jesu Christe. This yields a total of 24 iterations of the full text, which could represent the complete church, which is, remember, the 12 tribes of Israel combined with the 12 apostles of Christ. Figure 28 shows the first voice pairing here between the altos and the basses, which I must thank Dr. Anwar Otley for pointing out in passing during a chorale rehearsal. I remember that. The most common voice pairings in this movement are soprano with tenor and alto with bass, as seen here and spelled out in the following table. For this table, I counted every iteration of the full text for each voice. The two highest voices, the soprano and the alto, sing the full text 4 times each, and the two lower voices 8 times each. The numbers clearly add up to 24, but I originally couldn't find the reason behind this division, which in concert order, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, would come out as 4, 4, 8, 8. Only after noticing the voice pairings between a high and a low voice did the division make sense. It's supposed to be 4, 8, 4, 8, which gives you 12, which then gives you 24. Since this movement celebrates Jesus born as a human, when a high voice pairs with a low voice, it could represent the union between heaven and earth through Christ, just as the 12 tribes of Israel and the 12 apostles united around his throne. Michael Talbot even notes that, I quote, "The multiform dialogues that result from this pairing lend spaciousness to the music. There is something ethereal happening here." If I may indulge a little longer, voice crossing, to represent the cross, is a common composition technique in sacred music. This is when 2 lines of music swap pitch height, so what was a D and then what was a C, the D might go below the C. Vice versa, so if this was the D and that was the C could go above the D, that's still crossing, or simultaneously. So one was higher, the other was lower, and then they just literally swap places. We can observe Vivaldi's use of it between the soprano duet in the third movement here in figure 29. So we have the soprano 1 starting on a D, the soprano 2 starts on an E, she immediately just went right over her. And then the soprano 1 goes below on the C, so this is one cross. And then when they repeat it, right, the repetition is exact, it's exact, basically. So when they repeat it now, the soprano 2 has that D, and then the soprano 1 crosses above to get to that E. This is voice crossing, an example of it. We also see it here in figure 30, between the soprano solo and oboe in the 6th movement, around that D. So it was from the bottom up, the oboe to the soprano. It was E to a C against the C, units in Ds, and then a C and an E. And then they cross again, so then it becomes D and B. And then one more time here, with the E and then a C, units in Ds, and then a C to an E against an E. Notice that there are 3 crosses in the melisma, as if recalling the scene of the crucifixion. Just something I noticed here. There was 1 cross, 2 cross, and a 3rd cross. The reason I mention voice crossing is to reveal Vivaldi's numerological cross, only found by observing and associating melismas of similar characteristics in the 6th movement. You won't necessarily hear this, but it becomes apparent in score study. Figure 31 contains all of the soprano's melismas, but now I want to draw attention to the basic element of the motivic ideas. So the basic elements are highlighted here. The 1st and the 3rd melismas begin with an interval of a minor 3rd and emphasize the same 5-note scale. So we see the 3rd, a descending scale made up of 5 notes, and the 3rd melisma is the exact same thing, actually. It's that minor 3rd again with that descending scale. The 2nd and the 4th melismas begin with an interval of a perfect 4th and emphasize a 3-note scale. So this is the 4th. The first time she does it, it's the F to the B flat, and then 3-note descending scale. And here, before that 3-note scale, she approached it by a 4th, the A to this D. That's a 4th, and then step for the scale. When illustrated as a circle with the melismas numbered in sequential order, pairing the melismas that share similar characteristics creates the cross. So we will have a circle, and you will see the numbers written out in sequential order. And because it's a circle, it really doesn't matter what direction you go. I chose clockwise for this one, but if you drew it counterclockwise, if you put the 1 on the bottom, yeah, it doesn't matter, it's a circle. And if I pair 1 with 3 because they were identical and 2 with 4 because they were very similar, we get this cross. Again, you can't hear this very well during the concert unless you actively recall the similarities between the 1st and 3rd melismas and the 2nd and the 4th. It was easier to notice this during the score study when I noticed the similar motivic ideas and the identical interval entrances, which is that the 1st and 3rd enter by 3rd and the 4th and 2nd enter by 4th. Earlier, I asked a few research questions that I would like to answer now, after having analyzed and discussed the numerology in Vivaldi's Gloria. Although Vivaldi symbolized many sacred numbers, this lecture should have demonstrated that he really outdid himself with 2, 3, 12, and 24. Their uses are symbolic with respect to their significance in the Bible, which respectively are, remember, duality, 2, the Trinity and Peter, the tribes of Israel, or the 12 apostles, and the complete church, which is the 12 plus the 12. It was interesting during the research to notice how most of the numerology occurred in melismas, but it does appear elsewhere, such as in the orchestra, within the chorus, and even in the shorter movements of the Gloria. I hope to write down all of my findings someday, but for now it should be enough to declare that numerology might be a useful tool in composition and interpretation, and Vivaldi must have used it. As a devout Catholic and professional composer, it is likely that Vivaldi embedded religious symbols, including numbers, throughout his sacred works to accentuate the text. His background and environment gave him the knowledge and opportunities to fuse sacred contexts with secular styles. Every instance of these and other religiously significant numbers coincides with the message of the text, which appears too precisely to be accidental. Finally, even if these conclusions were not Vivaldi's intention, they at least open a method for interpretation and composition of sacred music. This is my bibliography, which is also available in your handout, at the last page of your handout. And I just really want to acknowledge some very special people who helped me out with this project. Dr. Brian Liu, my thesis advisor, Dr. Samantha Clark, my conducting advisor, Dr. Daniel Lau, the department chair, and the one who approved my project. Dr. Anwar Otley for that interview on biblical numbers. He taught me those numbers, actually. Every faculty member who had a hand in preparing the musicians. Professor Steve Jones for teaching me harpsichord tuning. Kathy Hecht from the WAU library for actually providing me resources and this very lovely projector screen. Doctors Sean Alger and Kenneth Slowick for their expertise in historical performance. My family and friends for supporting me in pursuing a career in music. And finally, Professor Daniel Taylor from the University of Toronto, who introduced me to numerology in that voice lesson at the Oberlin Conservatory's Baroque Performance Institute in 2022. Thank you. Thank you. So that ends the lecture portion. Please stand by for a very short intermission as we change the stage and get the players up. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
So I can move all of this, right? Move all of this, get that down. Yep, you got it.
Careful, this is glass.
Yeah, that's right. I'll line it up with that hole there.
coming. I really appreciate your support. My friends who are here, please join me in the lobby for a mini reception of a little tiramisu I made last night. I hope to see you again later. Have a good night, everyone.